Hey everyone! If you enjoyed this video, the full version is available on Patreon. I'll be uploading all my content there going forward.
Chapter 1 Zhongshan Hospital, S City. Xiao Tian, how is Harry? What did the doctor say? A well-dressed, tall young man strode towards the operating room and rushed to the blood-covered man sitting on a bench, asking urgently. I don't know, they're still in critical condition. What exactly happened? Everything was fine this morning, how could it suddenly? At that moment, a uniformed policeman walked over and said to the young man. Hello, my surname is Liu. We are from the Municipal Public Security Bureau. Are you the injured party, Harry? Hello, I'm his brother, Harry. Officer, what's going on? That's right. We learned from the surveillance footage that around 1:30 p.m., at the intersection of Shengli Street, Comrade Harry rescued a child from under a speeding car. The driver and vehicle have been taken into custody. According to feedback from the traffic police, the accident was caused by a malfunction in the car's braking system. Therefore, it has been preliminarily determined that this was an accidental traffic accident. I personally admire Comrade Harry's actions, but we have other matters to attend to at the Bureau, so we'll have to head back now. Please come to the Bureau as soon as possible this week to discuss and resolve this matter. After saying that, he nodded to the young man and left with another police officer colleague. Harry remained silent, sitting quietly on another bench, staring blankly at the ceiling, lost in thought. Until the light above the operating room door went out, and a doctor with blood-stained clothes emerged from within. A family member of the patient. Harry and Xiao Tian quickly got up and rushed towards the doctor, saying anxiously as they went. Yes, I'm here, doctor. How is my brother now? The doctor gently shook his head. Harry's heart clenched at this gesture. The patient is currently out of immediate danger, but has multiple fractures, and most importantly, suffered a severe head injury. It's difficult to say when he will wake up. Harry's heart, which had just settled, went black upon hearing the second half of the sentence. He staggered, and Xiao Tian quickly steadied him. Doctor, does that mean my brother might become a vegetable? The doctor nodded slightly without saying a word, then turned and went back into the operating room. A sea breeze blew by, and the tide soaked a man dressed in casual clothes on the beach. In the distance, seagulls met the setting sun, and occasionally, flying fish, yearning for the sky, would leap out of the azure sea, creating a beautiful picture. The man jolted awake, opened his eyes, and scrambled to his feet. He first looked at his body, muttering. Yes. Nothing's missing, not an arm or a leg. He patted himself down and patted his pockets. My phone's gone, hey? My cigarette's gone, my lighter's gone. Did I get robbed? Looking up, one sees the vast ocean, turning around, one finds oneself amidst a jungle. A question inevitably arises in one's mind. Seriously, where the hell am I? I glanced at my body, half of which was soaked by seawater, and looked at the sunset on the horizon. I decided that no matter where I was, whether it was a coastal city or a deserted island, I should first explore my surroundings. Otherwise, with the temperature difference when night falls, I'd probably catch a cold. And if it were a deserted island, I'd just be waiting to die. After looking around, I chose a direction that looked flat and slowly walked along the beach. As I walked, I thought back to what I had done. I remembered that I had saved a child and then been hit by a car. Logically speaking, I should be in the hospital receiving treatment at this time. But now I'm unharmed and in this god-forsaken place. Was I healed while unconscious? Or was I captured by a mysterious organization and used as a live-action Squid Game? Are you kidding me? This doesn't make sense. My brother wouldn't be so stupid as to lose his own brother, would he? After eliminating all the impossibilities, I racked my brains. Damn! I must have been hit by a car and time traveled. Thinking this, I clutched my head and chuckled bitterly. I'm not hopeless about life. I have a loving older brother, a bunch of best friends, and my family isn't short of money. How did this melodramatic story have to happen to me? I'm so pd off. Bite. Harry, who was walking on the beach, suddenly heard this sound. She subconsciously looked around but found nothing unusual. Oh ho! I'm a student of this country who's gone through 9 years of compulsory education. Even if I haven't eaten pork, I've seen pigs run, right? I asked cautiously. System. The Mo family's dream chasing system number 10,086 is at your service. The Mahist school? Pursuing dreams? Could you explain that? This system was created by the founder of the Mahist school as an auxiliary tool for his direct descendants to cultivate until they comprehend the Great Dao. Due to the depletion of spiritual energy on the ancestral star, many systems were lost or buried. By chance, the host activated it, and it facilitated the host's cultivation, leading to this small world where the host can gradually comprehend the Great Dao from low to high levels. I see. Although I still have many questions, you said that to ultimately comprehend the Great Dao through cultivation, what should I do? The following basic systems are available for the host to choose from. 1. The breath of the day. 2nd, the chakra system. 3rd, the spiritual particle system. 4th, the domineering system. 5th, the cultivation system. I'd definitely choose cultivation. With a single golden pill swallowed, my fate is in my own hands, not in the heavens. Loading for the host, please wait. By the way, 10,086, which small world is this? What's the faction distribution like? And who are the top experts? This world is the One Piece world familiar to the host, divided into the Navy and Pirates. Okay, I understand. No need for further background information. By the way, is this world real or fake? So, what do I need to do? Are there any missions? There is nothing the host is required to do, and there are no tasks. This system is merely an auxiliary tool, nothing more. Everything is up to the host to decide. However, since the host has chosen the cultivation system, please follow the true principles of Taoism, naturalness, non-action, and acting according to your heart. The system's energy has been exhausted and it will soon enter recharging mode. Please cultivate diligently. Finally, I wish you a bright future on your path to immortality and everlasting success in your martial arts. Cultivation system loading complete. Name, Harry. Race, human. Cultivation level, early stage of chi refining. Cultivation techniques, ethereal immortal techniques, void body techniques. 10,086, System? 6? Okay, it seems it's really been silent. But that's fine too. There's always a voice in my head, talking to itself. People might think I'm crazy. Although many questions remain, let's make the best of it and see if anyone lives here before making any further plans. As his physique improved, Harry began to move at high speed. Within a few hours, he spotted a port and ran towards the lights. Upon reaching it, he took a closer look and thought. Wow, not bad luck. It's a small tavern, too bad Zhao Lei isn't singing Chengdu. Pushing open the door, the people in the tavern glanced at the newcomer, saw he was a harmless young man, and turned back to drinking and chatting with their companions. At this moment, the old man at the tavern counter asked. Would you like something to drink, sir? Harry scratched his head awkwardly and said. Sir, the passenger ship I was on struck a reef. I drifted at sea for 2 days and ended up here. Would it be alright if I stayed with you for a few days? Of course, I can help with some manual labor, you just need to provide meals, is that alright? Upon hearing this, the old man carefully examined Harry for a while and found that the young man was dignified and did not seem like a vicious criminal. He was just a little dirty, but it was clear that he was not carrying any weapons. He was over 1.8 meters tall and not very fleshy. Scratching his head, with a simple, honest smile, he looked quite kind. Thinking he probably wasn't a pirate or bandit, he called out towards the kitchen. Machina, come out here for a second. Chapter 2. Here you are, Grandpa. Honestly, all you do is order people around all day long. A little girl who looked about 5 or 6 years old lifted the curtain of the kitchen, pouted, and came out, her big, blinking eyes staring at the old man as if asking him what his orders were. The old man smiled and pointed at Harry, saying, "Here, take this down on his luck young man to the kitchen to wash up, give him some food, and he can start working with you tomorrow." "Really? That's great. Now I'll have time to go out and play." Machina was so happy she danced with joy. Only then did Harry realize, Machina. Isn't that the name of the beautiful proprietress at the Windmill Town Tavern? The legendary mistress of Shanks. Looking at this 5 or 6-year-old pudding in front of me. What the hell am I living in? Maintaining a positive and optimistic spirit, I silently comforted myself, thinking, what if we just happen to have the same name? But seriously, old man, aren't you abusing children? Despite his inner grumbling, he squatted down, smiling, and said, "Hello, Machina, my name is Harry, nice to meet you in the future. Okay, big brother, come with me, I'll take you to the back to get something to eat." Machina, acting like a little adult, waved to Harry and then turned to walk towards the kitchen. Harry stood up and bowed slightly to the old man, saying, "Sir, thank you so much. I'm sorry to have bothered you." The old man didn't speak but smiled and nodded. He called out to Machina's retreating figure. "Oh, right, Machina, get this young man a set of Grandpa's clothes for him to change into." "Okay." After taking a shower and having dinner, Harry came out and most of the guests had left. He then cleaned up the room, put a few chairs together to make a bed, and lay down to think. I've inexplicably transmigrated. What about my brother? Did I transmigrate in spirit or body? Will I ever be able to go back? These questions are pointless to ponder before Lu Ziyi wakes up. It's best to sort out the current situation first. I just learned from my conversation with Machina in the kitchen that this is Windmill Town, and the current year is 1498 in the sea calendar. The Pirate King was arrested and imprisoned last month. But it doesn't matter. I'm not going to fawn over Luffy, so the time period doesn't matter. I also won't attack the 4 emperors or overthrow the world government. Anyway, we're in the East Blue, which is relatively safe compared to the first half of the Grand Line and the New World. The second step is to compare the combat power level of the early Chi refining stage on the system panel with that of this world. Third, during this period when the system is full of energy, what path should we take next? Pirates? Forget it. To be honest, the ideological education and moral conscience of my country don't support me going on a killing spree and committing all sorts of evil deeds in a different place. My humanity isn't that twisted. The worst part is that you are constantly wanted by pirates, bounty hunters, and even the Navy wants to fight you. It's just too much trouble. Revolutionary Army? Although I understand some red ideology, after all, we've been taught dragon-slaying techniques from junior high to university, just thinking about starting a revolution is such a complicated project. If we're going to do it, we have to do it well, we can't just give up halfway. After I succeed, what should I do? Set an example as a good leader? That would be so boring. I've fought wars my whole life, can't I at least enjoy myself? But if I could enjoy myself, why would I have started a revolution? It's a dilemma, this path is out. The Navy? The Navy does align with my sense of justice, and it's a government institution with a 9-to-5 schedule, perfect for a comfortable retirement. However, the downside is that it's not very free, and most importantly, you can't touch the celestial dragons. Everyone wants to take them down, but if you do, you might get fired and then wanted by the police. Sigh, it's tough. Lost in thought, Harry drifted off to sleep. It was another bright morning. The sun slowly rose from the sea, and our protagonist, Harry, was standing in front of the bar with little Pudding, Marcino, holding a water glass and with one hand on his hip. Gurgle 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 pft. All right, Machina, you're all washed up. It's a new day. Let your brother see how well you've practiced the invincible Vajra subduing demon Arhat fist that I've been teaching you these past few days. Upon hearing this, Machina's dazed eyes lit up instantly. She threw down her water glass and toothbrush, clenched her fists, and head-butted Harry. In the blink of an eye, Harry used a flying dragon emerging from the sea move to block the oncoming little head with one hand. Seeing her headbutt blocked, Machina cried out, "Ah!" as both her little hands swung up with incredible speed, leaving after images. Unfortunately, because its head was blocked and due to its small size, it couldn't hit anything with its two short arms. Just as Harry was bullying the innocent girl, a bird resembling an albatross, wearing a hat and carrying a small cloth bag, landed in front of the two. Harry took a newspaper, flicked a coin, and accurately dropped it into the newsbird's small cloth bag. Opening the newspaper, the first thing that caught my eye was the front page headline, "1 month later, in Logue Town, the Pirate King will be executed." Harry looked up at the newsbird soaring into the sky and sighed inwardly, this era of rampant growth is about to arrive. Perhaps it's time to go out and see the world for myself. Big brother, what's wrong? Why are you spacing out? Machina, seeing Harry gazing at the sky, stopped playing with her and tilted her head to ask. Before Harry could answer, the old man inside pushed open the tavern door, came to his side, and glanced at the news in the newspaper. "Kid, are you getting ready to leave?" "Yes, I'm going to go and see the world properly." "Then go. A real man should rush out to sea and brave the waves." "Big brother, are you leaving already?" Machina looked at Harry with a hint of reluctance, pouting as she asked. "Haha, a short separation is for a better reunion. When I come back next time, I'll tell you my big brother's adventure stories, okay? Pinky promise. No lying." So after staying in Windmill Town for another half-month, Harry took some dry rations and boarded a passenger ship to Rogue Town, finally arriving the day before his execution. They didn't encounter any pirates along the way. After all, the Pirate King was about to be executed, so the Marine headquarters definitely had high-ranking officers stationed in Logue Town. As a result, almost all the squadrons in the East Blue were out on patrol. With the leaders here, they had to make a good impression. If they caused any trouble, they would be punished. Early in the morning, Harry arrived at the execution square. Wow, so many people! No wonder it's a famous scene. Harry looked around like a country bumpkin visiting a grand garden. At the same time, she carefully searched for the young 4 emperors, the leader of the Revolutionary Army, and the 7 warlords of the sea. At this moment, she was filled with amusement. "Hey, that hooded one must be Dragon, right? Looks like he hasn't turned out to be a marine yet, Garp hasn't even given him a slipper mark on his face. Hey, young Shanks's a crybaby, hey? He's already teary-eyed and about to cry before the execution even starts. Haha, Bucky was kind of cute as a kid, but this crying is just hilarious. Tisk, is little turkey already this arrogant? Hawkeye with his beard looks much cooler. Wow, old Shat, you got here even before me. I only saw the back of his head, but he's always liked to comb his hair like an adult since he was little. I really want a camera to take their pictures. When they all become big shots someday, I'll use those photos to blackmail them, ha ha ha." Chapter 3. Just as Harry was silently going mad, 2 executioners escorted a middle-aged man with a powerful stride. He lowered his head, strode quickly to the execution platform, and sat cross-legged. There was not a trace of hesitation or fear in his movements, he simply sat there quietly. The crowd in the vast square gradually quieted down until it was completely silent. Naval hero Garp, carrying a wine jar, also arrived at the execution platform, and a naval officer began to read out Gold Roger's crimes. People looked up, silently watching the man designated as the Pirate King by the world government. At that moment, he seemed not to be a criminal about to be executed, but a general reviewing his troops. Harry also looked at this Pirate King. To be honest, he didn't sympathize with Roger, nor did he feel anything for Roger. Roger was a hero of the sea, a strongman, a leader, and boss worth following. But he was definitely not a good husband or a good father. Knowing he was seriously ill, why did he go and provoke others? He couldn't give birth for 10 months because of his pregnancy, and he watched pregnant women on the island die tragically so that his child could be born safely. How could an ordinary woman bear such torment? Ace was an orphan from a young age, and he was so innocent in the face of the world's slander against his father. For the sake of his brothers, just because a soldier insulted his men, he was willing to slaughter the entire kingdom's army. To be honest, I can't understand it at all. What kind of deep-seated hatred could there be? Why not just punish the ringleader? Soldiers are duty-bound to obey orders. The other soldiers didn't deserve to die. Besides, your conqueror's haki isn't just for show. By this time, Roger's charges had been read aloud. Garp poured a bowl of wine, handed it to Roger, and said expressionlessly, "Roger, all these years of hunting you down, you've always wanted to drink with me. Today, I'll keep you company. Drink up and then leave." Roger smiled but didn't speak. He took the bowl of wine, drank it all in one gulp, and tossed the empty bowl aside. Garp looked at the crowd below the stage, then at Roger, and asked, "Is there anything else you'd like to say?" At that moment, Harry, with his sharp eyes, spotted a passerby wearing a blue vest, his hands cupped around his mouth, about to shout at the execution platform. "Hey! You stole my line," he thought, instantly gathering his inner strength and roaring. "Gold Roger!" The thunderous roar of tigers and leopards interrupted the passerby's spell casting and attracted everyone's attention. At this moment, Harry smiled and said to Roger, "Pirate King, where did you hide all the treasure you found?" The people in the square stared blankly at Harry after he said those words, then turned their gazes to Roger on the high platform with fervent interest, eager to hear his response. Roger paused for a moment, then his lips slowly curled into a wide, maniacal laugh. "Ha ha ha ha, my treasure? You can have it all if you want it. Go find it. Everything in this world is there." Seeing that the situation was about to spiral out of control, Garp shouted, "Execute!" 2 steel blades plunged into Roger's heart, and even the Pirate King lowered his proud head. The square was a scene of carnage, women covered their mouths at the sight of the bloodshed, the elderly shielded the terrified eyes of children with their hands, men rushed toward the beach with fanatical expressions, and ambitious men closed their eyes and grinned as they welcomed the era of riots. The entire square was in complete chaos. Our protagonist, Harry, like a weasel that had stolen a chicken, wore a sly grin, thinking, "Hee hee, this iconic moment is mine, gotta go." Just as Harry turned to flee, a dark shadow loomed before him, and a clanging sound came from above. "Kid, you want the great treasure." Upon hearing this, Harry looked up and saw Garp standing right in front of him. Due to the backlighting, he couldn't see Garp's expression, but given Garp's height, his imposing presence was instantly overwhelming. Harry realized that with his mere early-stage chi refining column, he definitely couldn't defeat the current power ceiling. His aura was completely crushed by Garp, and he could only awkwardly twitch his lips as he said, "Mr. Garp, you've misunderstood. I was just curious." "Curious? I'm curious. Aren't you curious?" "Not curious. No, you're just curious. Not curious. No, you. Bang. Garp's iron fist interrupted Harry's skill casting. I've been hunting Roger for years, don't I know? He has no treasure whatsoever. Even if he wanted to dig, he'd have to have the time. As Garp spoke, he carefully observed Harry, thinking to himself. Was this kid acting out of curiosity, or was he in cahoots with Roger? His punch had been fueled by a bit of anger, even a typical colonel wouldn't have been able to withstand it. This young man acted as if nothing had happened, he seems to have at least the caliber of a general. He's quite a promising talent. How do we trick him into joining the Navy? Hey kid, wanna join the Navy? Harry, who was holding his head in his hands, stared at Garp with a conflicted expression upon hearing his words, wondering how to respond. Garp, noticing Harry's prolonged silence, noticed his gaze hardening and turning dangerous. What, you want to be a pirate? Of course not, I have no respect for these scum who burn, kill, and loot. It's just that I feel, the Navy isn't very free. Harry quickly replied. Freedom? Tell me, what kind of freedom do you want? Actually, what I really want is to travel around, see how big the world really is, see different beautiful scenery, meet different people, and maybe do some good deeds along the way. But if I joined the Navy, I'd be constantly on missions, catching pirates, patrolling just one fixed area. That's not the life I want. Upon hearing this, Garp patted Harry on the shoulder, laughed heartily, then put his arm around Harry's neck and walked towards the marine branch, saying as they went. That's easy. If you want freedom, first you have to become a general. Then you'll have a lot of autonomy to choose or refuse your missions. In return, you need to have the strength and achievements of a general. Secondly, you need some influential old-timer to help you withstand the pressure from above. Don't worry about that, I've got my eye on you, so I can protect you. Third, you can take leave. Once you've achieved something and have some influence, you can travel wherever you want, and maybe catch some pirates along the way to complete your mission. Fourth, if you're unhappy at work, you can resign in the Navy. Goodness, this lecture on psychological manipulation by the leader was quite reasonable and well-founded. Harry was originally struggling with whether to join the Navy or become a traveler. After all, each has its own advantages and disadvantages. Regardless of the traveler, the Navy is indeed a good place to go, at least until it has grown stronger. Moreover, if one could join the Navy and immediately work alongside Garp, it must be quite a leisurely life. So he nodded in agreement, deciding to go in and take a look first. If he really didn't like the work, he could just quit. By the way, Mr. Garp, for such a major event as Roger's execution, why did headquarters only assign you as the sole representative? Aren't you worried about things going wrong? Ha ha ha, those who have the ability to save him either want him dead or know they can't be saved. As for the others, I alone am enough. Harry thought about it and realized it made sense. There were only a small group of people on this ocean who could break through Garp's defenses and save Roger. Whitebeard wouldn't come, and Shiki was probably just imprisoned in Impel Down. Roger's remaining crew knew he was about to die and surrendered, so they wouldn't come either. Kaido and Big Mom haven't reached their peak yet. Expecting them to team up to save Roger? You'd be better off hoping for the end of the world. As for the others, they're still just children. Chapter 4. They chatted about all sorts of trivial things along the way. Garp also noticed Harry's personality. He was a bit lazy like Borsellino, but he was not lacking in a sense of justice. Finally, they arrived at the marine branch in Logue Town. Young man, let this old man test your mettle. On the branch's training ground, Garp tossed aside his navy cloak and stood there casually. Harry also wanted to see what level of combat power he was at. Of course, he knew in his heart that he definitely couldn't beat Garp at his peak, but he didn't want to lose the battle, so he said disdainfully. Uncle, you'd better be careful. My fist, as big as a clay pot, is really strong. If I accidentally hurt you, don't try to scam me. As soon as he finished speaking, Harry stomped his foot on the floor. A spider web-like crack appeared where he had just stood, but he had vanished without a trace. With a loud whoosh, Harry appeared in front of Garp as if by teleportation, unleashing a straight punch. Iron fist and bone. The two men's fists collided, and a visible gust of wind shot out, blinding the onlookers with sand and dust. Some of the closer soldiers were even blown more than 10 meters away. Amidst the dust, a short figure could be seen surrounding a tall figure, launching a fierce attack, punches, elbows, kicks, and knee strikes, but all were blocked by the tall figure's fists. Finally, a burly figure delivered a straight punch, blasting one person into a cloud of dust. The person flew backward to the edge of the training field, gliding along the ground for a distance before coming to a stop against the wall. Only then did the soldiers see clearly that Harry had his arms crossed, folded in front of his face, his fists and arms bright red. Sir, my punch wasn't light, was it? If it hurts, don't try to bear it. Harry, supporting himself against the wall behind him, stood up unsteadily and stubbornly said, "Ha ha ha, kid, you're still a long way off. Can you even walk? Come to my office." Garp took the trench coat from the soldier and turned to walk towards the office building. Harry leaned against the wall, catching his breath before slowly inching towards the building, his legs trembling and grimacing. He thought to himself, that damn middle-aged man's fists are really hard. But I won't lose unless I cry out in pain. I'm not like Ace or Luffy, those kids who cry when they get beaten up. Humph, shameful. Once Harry's figure disappeared into the building, the soldiers on the training ground erupted in chaos. Wow! This young man is really fierce. He can go toe-to-toe with Vice Admiral Garp and didn't even cough up blood in the end. Exactly. That's amazing. It seems our navy is about to produce another monster Vice Admiral. Exactly. I've made up my mind. From today onwards, he's my idol. Exactly. You son of a BCH, brothers, beat him up. Well, oh. Ignoring the soldiers' antics below, Harry collapsed onto the sofa as soon as he entered the office. Staring at the tea set on the table, he thought for a moment, then got up and started boiling water. Not bad, you have a good eye. You're young but already have the strength of a lieutenant general in your unit. However, compared to the veteran lieutenant generals and the other two monsters, your physical strength is still lacking. You could try to find a Zoan-type devil fruit, which would quickly boost your stamina, or you could simply spend time training your body. Cap said while eating a senbei. Garp said. Harry thought for a moment, I'm already cultivating immortality, devil fruit? Even dogs wouldn't eat that stuff, he said seriously. I don't want to leave myself any openings, so I'll just train slowly. That works too. You have two choices now. 1. You can follow my warship from now on, and I can give you the rank of captain. Then you can slowly accumulate military merits, and I will also teach you how to improve your strength. 2nd, I'll send you to the elite training camp in Zephyr at Naval Headquarters for 2 years. You'll learn a lot there, and with your abilities, you'll graduate as a lieutenant colonel at the very least. After a few more years of missions, becoming a general is practically guaranteed. What do you choose? Harry watched the water boil, first making a cup of tea for Kapu, then one for herself. Holding the hot tea in both hands, she fell into deep thought. The Navy's elite training camp, I get it. It's like the Whampoa Military Academy, you go in to get a prestigious degree, and when you come out, you're a model citizen with fast promotions. The 6 powers of the Navy and Haki, through the sparring session with Garp just now, it's clear that so-called armament Haki doesn't make you turn completely black. That's just Oda deliberately making it so that the audience can intuitively feel it. He's just a manga artist, what does he know about One Piece? Simply put, Armament haki is the use of internal energy to adhere to the surface of the skin for defense. It's colorless. To put it even more simply, it's similar to the protective inner energy in martial arts novels. I've already started cultivating immortality, and it's no less powerful than the internal energy techniques in martial arts novels. Is visual perception, or observational perception, any more useful than my divine sense scanning? Conqueror's haki is just mental pressure, a simple and unadorned cultivation technique. Naval 6 styles, shave. Needless to say, my footwork is better than that. Iron block? Even a dog wouldn't use that stuff, why would you even think about it? Moonwalk, Later on, I'll be able to fly on a sword, and even later I can fly directly using my inner energy. But right now I'm just a chi refining noob, so I can't use those techniques. I won't eat a devil fruit anyway, so it's still necessary to learn this ability to stay airborne. But I think it should be easy to learn. Storm kick, finger gun, tisk, all that fancy stuff. I'll just unleash my true energy, storm tongue, storm saliva, anything will do. Paper drawing, not bad. It's a technique for releasing force. The advanced version, life return, is quite interesting. It's a bit like the internal vision and golden core storage in the cultivation system, and it also allows for perfect control of one's body. So all in all, I guess I should just learn moonwalk, paper drawing, and life return. There's no reason why Garp wouldn't teach these if Zephyr could. He might not even know life return. Besides, he never aspired to promotion or wealth, so whether he went to military academy or not was irrelevant. He just didn't want to risk encountering an idiot like a celestial dragon during a mission and accidentally killing him. He wasn't afraid of that, but it would be incredibly troublesome. Following Lieutenant General Garp as a junior officer means you'll always have a superior to back you up, making it perfect for slacking off. So Harry slammed the cup down, as if he had made a life-or-death decision, and said fiercely, "I was born a soldier under Vice Admiral Garp, and I will die a ghost soldier under Vice Admiral Garp." Puff! Garp sprayed a mouthful of hot tea directly onto Harry's face. "Ha ha ha, an interesting kid. Alright then, let's make this clear first, my highest rank is captain, so don't complain about it being too low." "Hee hee, boss, you know me, I don't care about rank at all." Harry wiped the tea off his face, grinning obsequiously. "Go and rest. Pass the word that everyone should return to headquarters first thing tomorrow morning to report." "All right." Chapter 5. Report. Vice Admiral Garp. Approaching the Red Line elevator, please provide instructions. Yes, contact the soldiers at the elevator. I need to return to headquarters as soon as possible to report back. Tell the merchant ships to wait. Yes. Garp turned his head and saw a lazy young man in a floral shirt, beach shorts, and flip-flops lying in a small beach chair next to his own on the deck. His brow twitched, and he sighed, saying, "Hey kid, you'd better tone down your lazy attitude a bit when you get to headquarters. People who don't know you're a captain would think you're an admiral. There's no way around it, this kid's talent is just too strong. He learned moonwalk in one morning, mastered paper drawing in just one day and was able to apply it in actual combat, and after initially mastering life return on the third day, he started learning on his own." He moved a beach chair next to him and started slacking off with a clear conscience. What's infuriating is that Garp realized he really didn't have much left to teach. As for deeper levels of armament haki, the kid's strength is still on the rise, and teaching too much would be like biting off more than he can chew. It's better to focus on building a solid foundation. What's most infuriating is that most of the soldiers idolize him. They grant his every request and treat him like a king. Hey, got it, old man, I get it. One should be humble, after all, I haven't accomplished anything yet." Lying on the beach chair, Harry slowly opened his eyes, waved his hand dismissively in response to Garp's question, looked at the Red Line continent so close at hand, got up and went to Garp's side, yawning as he asked. We've reached the red line? Will we see the celestial dragons as soon as we get there? The tone made it sound like they were talking about some strange creature, like a celestial dragon, and they were looking for something unusual to see. What are you thinking? This is an elevator, used by merchant ships and warships to travel between the Grand Line and the other seas. They can't possibly risk their lives crashing through Reverse Mountain every time they make a trip. Those celestial dragons are on the other side. Garp explained, then suddenly noticed the soldiers around him staring wide-eyed, their eyes practically popping out of their sockets, before he realized what was happening. Ha ha ha, you can't say that, right? Well, I take it back. He picked his nose, nonchalantly trying to patch it up. Harry thought that made sense. At this point in time, Wano country was still in a closed-off state, and Odin might still be dancing for Kaido. Sea stone is very rare, and the Navy probably hadn't developed warships that could sail in calm winds yet. Even if Kaido trades with the world government later, the amount of sea stone would likely be very small. Wano country's annual output, divided among the entire world and then among the world government, would probably only amount to a small percentage of the Navy. Then after a few years of accumulation, I reckon it will only be enough to support the replacement of warships for important high-ranking naval officers. Hey, I wonder if I'll be able to get one by then thanks to Uncle Garp's connections. Thanks to the intimidating presence of Garp's dog-headed warship, the journey proceeded smoothly without any obstruction, and there were no dramatic incidents like being caught showing off and getting humiliated. Just kidding. With the power of having just arrested the Pirate King and the Marine hero who dared to beat up even the Celestial Dragons, does your CP organization dare to mess with us? They probably don't know why flowers are so red. However, Harry was quite looking forward to seeing this happen, but unfortunately nothing happened. Naval Headquarters, Marineford. On the lookout tower, the flag-bearer signaled, and the warship, under command, slowly entered the inner harbor. The boarding ladder was lowered, and Garp led the way, heading towards the headquarters building. Soldiers along the way stood in neat rows, saluting their hero. The soldiers on Garp's ship shared in the pride, heads held high, following their general forward. Garp turned his head to look at Harry. I'll go to the marshal's office first. Familiarize yourself with the surroundings here. I'll send someone to let you know when I'm done. Okay, you're busy, I'll just take a stroll around the neighborhood. After speaking, Harry stopped and left the group to examine the Marine headquarters. He then discovered that Marineford was not as small as it appeared in the anime. Entering the port, there's a plaza, followed by an office building. Behind the office building is a large drill ground, further subdivided into several smaller drill grounds, next to which are soldiers' dormitories. In another direction, there's a villa area of varying sizes, presumably the private residences for officers of colonel rank and above. Looking further into this villa area, at the end of a wide, straight avenue, the outline of a large town is vaguely visible. Harry watched the warships coming and going in the port, and the soldiers in the square carrying supplies, all working busily. There was nothing to see, so he asked for directions to a soldier's training ground and headed in that direction. At this moment, in the Fleet Admiral's office, a group of high-ranking officials were gathered. Fleet Admiral Kong, the mighty bone, sat in the main seat. Vice Admiral and Chief of Staff Tsuru of the Navy headquarters sat elegantly on the sofa, sipping hot tea, and Admiral Sengoku and Vice Admiral Monkey D. Garp, who had clearly already handed over the execution orders, were like two children, scrambling for senbei, rice crackers. Kong's eyebrows twitched as he watched, and he roared angrily. Enough! You two brats, one is already a Navy Admiral, and the other is a Navy hero. What are the younger brats supposed to think of you if you keep acting like this? The two old people, who had been like children, instantly sat up straight, and even the teacup couldn't hide the upturned corners of Lieutenant General Tsuru's mouth. Sengoku, I'm getting old. I'm over 70 this year, and in 2 more years I'll be 80, so I'm preparing to retire. I plan to recommend you to the 5 elders as the next fleet admiral." Upon hearing this, Sengoku immediately stood up, about to say something, when Steelbone Kong smiled and gestured for him to sit down, continuing. "Now, in the New World, since Rock's death, his pirate crew has fallen apart. In the struggle among these scum of the sea for territory, Roger was executed, Shiki was captured, and only Whitebeard remains. As for our navy, with you, Garp, Tsuru, and Zephyr, and the younger generation even has 3 little monsters, I believe the future will definitely be the Navy's era. I can consider this a successful retirement. I will send the future documents to your office later." What's noteworthy now is the uproar caused by Roger's mention of the One Piece before his execution. This trend must be stopped. Sengoku stood up and saluted. "Yes, Marshal." Kong Kong smiled and waved, looking at Garp. "By the way, Garp, you just said the new recruits you brought back from the East Blue have a lot of potential." "Ha ha ha, he's quite the little monster. At such a young age, he already possesses the strength of a vice admiral, has dual-color haki, and learned the 6 powers of the Navy on his way back to headquarters. However, this kid is lazy, a bit like Borsellino. I plan to keep him under my wing for a few years, he's definitely a potential admiral." "Hehe, from what you've said, he seems like a promising talent. We'll look forward to it then." Chapter 6. In training grounds of all sizes, soldiers are sweating under the scorching sun, giving their youthful energy. Harry, having somehow acquired a coconut, casually observed the soldiers training on the field from under a tree by the training ground, sipping from a straw. It felt like a senior college student, munching on an ice pop, watching the freshmen sweating profusely during their grueling military training, while casually offering their opinions and engaging in light-hearted conversation. He completely ignored the soldiers glaring at him through gritted teeth, their eyes practically spitting fire. They figured that if their superior gave the order, they would all swarm him and give this shrew who was just watching him gloating a good beating. That burly, purple-haired middle-aged man yelling at the soldiers to speed up is probably the one who won't kill Admiral Blackarm Zephyr. Wow, I didn't expect that the future Admiral Aokiji would be a classmate of the future Revolutionary Army leader Dragon. And there's also Inigamo and Momonga, this group of future powerful vice-admirals. Leaning against a large tree, Harry sipped coconut juice and murmured to herself. But right now, they're all a bunch of weaklings, not a single one of them can fight. Humph! I'm going to take on 10 of them. As Harry was engrossed in his own imaginative daydream, watching these future pillars of the Navy finish their basic training and begin one-on-one combat drills, Zephyr noticed that the trainees below were glancing at the large trees in the rest area on the sidelines more and more frequently. He frowned and followed their gaze. Good heavens! Upon seeing this, his face flushed, and the muscles around his eyebrows bulged into a number shape. There sat a soldier wearing beach shorts, a floral shirt, and a naval cap, leaning against a large tree, a coconut in his arms, legs crossed, his flip-flops bouncing up and down with each leg shake. He instantly roared. "Soldiers under the tree, get over here!" The trainees, who were preparing to engage in combat, stopped what they were doing and looked in the direction of Instructor Zifa. Harry heard the roar, looked around, and realized that he was being called. He then got up and jogged over to Zifa. "Name, position, subordinate." "Reporting, sir." "Harry, Lieutenant Commander, assigned to Vice Admiral Kapu's ship, serving as a communications officer." "Garp?" Judging by the time, it's about the same time he should be returning to headquarters for his report. Zephyr, considering that these were old friends soldiers and he hadn't yet received any training duties, calmed down considerably. He looked at Harry carefully and asked. "Sir? You don't know me? A new recruit?" "Yes, sir, I was forced into service by Lieutenant General Garp in Logue Town." Zephyr became interested upon hearing this. Having known Garp for so many years, he knew that although Garp was usually carefree, he was actually quite arrogant at heart. Ordinary people were beneath his notice, let alone a new recruit who had just enlisted and had been given the top rank of captain and appointed as a communications soldier. This meant that they were planning to groom this kid for a role. But why hasn't he called me in all these days to say he's sending people to the training camp? Something's not right. A thought struck him. He decided to test this greenhorn in front of him. My name is Zephyr, Admiral of the Marine Headquarters, currently the chief instructor of the elite training camp. Although you are not my soldier, now that you have joined the Navy, you must follow the rules. First, your military appearance is untidy. Military regulations clearly state that officers of colonel rank and above may dress freely, but must wear a uniform overcoat. Soldiers below colonel rank must be neatly dressed. You are not on leave now, where is your uniform? Second, it's affecting training. Even though you don't have any training tasks right now, you can't interfere with others. How can others concentrate on training when you're just lounging around like that? Considering you're a new recruit, I won't punish you too much. They're going to have some live-fire exercises soon. Choose an opponent and complete the training yourself. Yes, General Zephyr. Harry turned to look at this group of future big shots, wondering to himself, who should I beat up? I'm going to take on 10. Upon hearing this, the students below erupted in uproar, glaring indignantly at Harry as if they wanted to tear him to pieces. Some, with tempers as volatile as spiders, even drew their swords, ready to strike. At this moment, Zephyr gestured to the students, smiling, and said, "Good lad, you've got guts. But I'm afraid you'll get beaten to death, and then Garp will come after me. Kuzan, you spar with him. Remember to go easy on him, teach this new recruit a lesson, lest people laugh at our training camp for having no one to fight with." Thinking to himself, Kuzan now possesses the Logia type ice fruit, and with the awakening of both types of Haki, he has firmly secured the top spot in the training camp and has reached the strength of a rear admiral. No matter how talented you are, you'll still lose. Let me show you the harsh realities of life and see if you're still so arrogant. Harry shrugged indifferently and spread his hands. You can arrange it, I'm fine with whatever you say. The others dispersed to make room for the upcoming battle. They weren't in a hurry to train, they just wanted to see how this arrogant kid would get beaten up. After all, they were all smart enough to understand the head instructor's implication: if Kuzan dared to hold back, even if he lost, he'd suffer a lot in the future. Kuzan hasn't experienced the O'Hara incident yet, so his sense of justice is still burning brightly. He's currently a quintessential hot-blooded youth. However, he hasn't lost any of the arrogance a monster should have, casually standing to one side of the arena, looking at Harry. Oh my, buddy, I ate a Logia-type devil fruit, you know. I was already a colonel before joining the training camp, so I'm basically your superior. To avoid you losing too badly, I'll allow you to go first. Harry smiled, thinking to herself, you're actually a pretty nice person. Then I'll go easy on you. Whoosh! A gust of air swept past, and the next second, Harry's figure appeared directly in front of Kuzan. Kuzan hadn't expected him to be so fast. By the time he sensed him with his observation Haki, he was already right in front of him. He looked at him with slight astonishment, instinctively raising his hands to defend himself. Meanwhile, Harry had already completed a 360-degree spin in the air. Using the momentum, he kicked Kuzan in the jaw, sending Kuzan flying straight into the sky like a rocket. Harry thought to herself, the people in One Piece are so unscientific. What do they eat to grow so tall? I don't understand. I just can't understand it at all. I wanted to cosplay Renge properly, but I didn't expect I wasn't tall enough. But my 360-degree aerial kick should be pretty cool, right? Harry adjusted his position in mid-air, landed, slightly bent his knees, and pushed off with all his might, heading straight for the airborne Kuzan. With a sonic boom, only a shadow could be seen in the naked eye as he instantly caught up with the flying Kyuzan. Chapter 7. Kyuzan, recovering from his stunned state, half opened his eyes and looked down. He didn't see the figure in the floral shirt. Before he could even steady his body as he flew upwards, his observation haki detected that there was someone behind him. He knew this was Harry, and was just about to use his elemental powers to create distance when his arms tightened, realizing that his elemental powers had failed. Hee, have you ever bungee jumped? Harry's voice came from behind him, and the next second his heart stopped. Kyuzan, braving the intense wind pressure, opened one eye and saw the training ground getting closer and closer. He realized that he was head first, falling straight down to the ground at an extremely fast speed. He frantically tried to break free from Harry's grasp, but found that he was no match for him. He couldn't break free. It was over, he was going to die. He was going to die. Boom! The impact scattered, dust filled the air, and everyone stared wide-eyed at the ground, feeling the tremors, their eyes glued to the center of the arena, eager to see the final outcome. The smoke cleared. All that could be seen around Kyuzan was a speck of ice crystals, lying in the center of the crater, his eyes rolled back and blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. Meanwhile, Harry stood casually at the edge of the crater, brushing the dust off his body. Sigh. Everyone's eyes nearly popped out of their sockets when they saw the result. It's nothing, he just fainted. Seeing the funny expressions on their faces, Harry smiled and said to Zifa. In the end, he withdrew his inner energy and adjusted his position, preventing Kyuzan from stumbling to the ground. It was just a fight, there was no need to kill him. Besides, Kyuzan was so polite, revealing his abilities right from the start. How could we possibly go all out? We're supposed to be fair. It's no wonder Kyuzan got wiped out, he was just showing off and underestimating his opponent. If Kyuzan knew what he was thinking at this moment, he would definitely be jumping up and down cursing. Who underestimated the enemy? He had already shown strategic contempt but tactical respect for his opponent. He was in elemental form from the start, but unexpectedly, Harry kicked him into a stun, followed by a combo. Who would have thought a recruit from the East Blue would know armament haki? And the BDS strength is so immense. I really want to grab Vice Admiral Garp by the collar and ask him, you're telling me this is what a captain is? This recruit is amazing. He even defeated Kyuzan. His moves look so fluid and cool. I want to learn them. Yeah, I want to learn too. All we do is throw a punch or slash with a knife, it's not cool at all. Exactly. We've never seen anything like this before. The surrounding students began to discuss animatedly. At this moment, Dragon recognized Harry as the person who had questioned Roger in Logue Town. He frowned, seemingly lost in thought. All right. Stop watching the show, everyone. Go find yourselves and train with someone. Hua Shaishan, take Kyuzan to the hospital. Zifa stopped the students from gathering and said to Harry, Kid, come with me. He led Harry to the edge of the training ground. Star, you didn't eat a devil fruit, did you? No, General Zephyr, and I don't plan to eat it in the future either. Oh? Why? Is it because you've never encountered a devil fruit before, or do you have someone you like? I just don't want to leave myself with any obvious weaknesses. Compared to devil fruit abilities, I'd rather trust my own fists. Harry's answer struck a chord with Zifa, whose codename was Black Wrist, and whose strength lay entirely in his fists. So he excitedly patted Harry on the shoulder, praising him with a look of affirmation. Ha 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 ha, what a spirited man. I didn't glean much from the sparring just now. You must have awakened armament haki by now. And where did you learn your physical techniques? They look quite impressive. Vice Admiral Garp said I should have awakened dual-type haki, and he even taught me the 6 powers of the Navy, which I've mastered. As for physical techniques, that's all just my own guesswork. Harry scratched his head and answered shyly. Zifa, on the other hand, was far from calm. Wasn't this the perfect successor he had always dreamed of? With perfect talent, and unlike Sakazuki and Borsellino who rely too much on their devil fruit abilities, Kyuzan will likely develop in that direction in the future. After all, having a top-tier Logia-type devil fruit, it would be a waste not to further develop it. Thinking of this, his heart burned with excitement and his eyes shone brightly as he asked. Did Garp say when he'd send you to the elite training camp? Harry, seeing this setup, thought, they want me to enroll? I've transmigrated and I still have to go to school? Especially a military academy. He quickly grabbed Garp's banner. Lieutenant General Garp wouldn't let me go to the training camp, saying that he would teach me everything you could, and that I should stay by his side and learn properly for a few years. Upon hearing this, Zifa flew into a rage. That BD can't do anything. He's just a brute. What else can he do besides eat rice crackers? Harry looked embarrassed, but inwardly he was amused as he listened to Zifa cursing. Forgive me, Uncle Garp. Better to die than to die myself. You're so capable, please help me out. Just then, a soldier ran up to them, panting. He saluted Zephyr first, then turned to Harry while still saluting and said, Captain Mo, Lieutenant General Garp wants you to come over. Harry nodded to the soldier, General Zifa, I'll be taking my leave now. Watching the two leave, Zephyr was thinking about how to confront that BD Garp tomorrow and get him to send Harry to the training camp. He couldn't let such a promising talent be ruined. The soldier led Harry to a small villa in the officers' quarters. After crossing the courtyard, he knocked twice on the door and announced loudly, Lieutenant General Garp, Captain Harry has arrived. Come in. The soldier said to Harry, Captain Mo, please come in. Then he crossed his arms behind his back and stood guard by the door. Harry pushed open the door and entered, looking around at the layout of the room. It was clearly a Japanese tatami style, without much decoration. Kapu was sitting cross-legged at a small tea table, eating senbei, rice crackers, and beckoned to him to come and sit down. If you want tea, pour it yourself. Where have you been wandering around? I looked at the food in the naval mess hall, then went to the training ground and got into a fight. Upon hearing this, Garp became interested and asked with a curious expression. Who did you play against? Did you win or lose? I won against Kyuzan, of course. I can't let you down, he's still in the hospital. Ha ha ha, you're probably going to become famous now. By the way, why did you two start fighting? Upon hearing this, Garp laughed, thinking that neither of them were the type to cause trouble, so why were they fighting? Then he looked at Harry with confusion. Hey uncle, let me tell you a story. I was strolling around the parade ground drinking coconut juice when General Zephyr called me over and said I was disrupting their training and my discipline was poor. He then made me choose someone to have a live fire exercise with. Good grief! When I heard that, I knew they just wanted to beat me up. But then I thought, I can't let you down, so I immediately declared that I would take on 10 of them. General Zephyr didn't believe in my strength and only chose Kyuzan to fight me. Well, Kyuzan is really looking down on me. He even said he's a higher-ranking officer and should go first. How could I stand for that? I just learned some grappling techniques, how could I let him get away with that? Smack, I pinned him down right there. Chapter 8. Ha ha ha, you're something else. You've got my old style. And then what? Later, General Zephyr tried to recruit me into the training camp, but I refused. I said I wanted to train under the old man for a few more years. General Zephyr turned green with anger and kept scolding me for misleading students, ha ha ha. Then you sent someone to find me, and I came back. As Harry poured tea, he spoke, and the old man and the young man chatted casually. Garp also took the opportunity to introduce him to the current Corps High Command of the Navy, and also told him about the current Fleet Admiral's intention to let his old partner Sengoku succeed him. As it was getting late, Garp ordered the guards to go to the canteen to pack up some food. I'm back. The two, who were chatting enthusiastically, heard the sound and turned to look at the doorway. They saw a dirty-looking Durag changing his shoes in the entryway. He looked up and saw Harry and Kapu sitting in the living room drinking tea. He paused for a moment, thinking that although his father was usually oblivious, he was selective about who he treated. This situation couldn't be a typical superior-subordinate relationship. It seemed his father valued this young man. So, he took the initiative to greet him. Hello, Harry. My name is Dragon, and I'm this old geezer's son. I saw you in Logue Town before. I thought you'd gone to sea to find the One Piece, but I didn't expect you to join the Marines. But you looked really cool beating up Kuzan today. Harry looked at Durag's face, which was currently bare and showing no tattoos, and decided to tease the kid. Want to learn? Call me brother, and I'll teach you. After we eat, let's have a fight. I'll shout if I win. It's a pity I'm not proficient in using armament haki yet, otherwise I would have already beaten up Kuzan. He's always so cocky because of his Logia-type devil fruit. Durag, with a smug look on his face, sat down and poured himself a cup of hot tea, which he gulped down in one go. Hey ha ha ha, you little rascal, go wash up first, dinner's coming up later. So verbose. Dorag got up and walked towards the shower room. The night sky is filled with stars, like a dream. With bruised and swollen faces, Durag and Harry lay on the grass beside the playground. Brother Mo, why did you join the Navy? I can't beat your dad, can I? Hey? What kind of reason is that? You mean if you could beat them, you'd become a pirate? Dragon turned to look at Harry in shock. No, not at all. I still have a bit of a sense of justice. I was planning to be a traveler, but I had to be so talkative and ask Roger about One Piece, and then your dad caught me. I couldn't beat him, and I couldn't run away, so he gave me a good talking to, and here I am. Harry, with a blade of grass dangling from his mouth, gazed at the dazzling starry sky and replied lazily. Oh, I see. Brother Mo, could you teach me your martial arts style sometime? It's so cool. Hat, your dad is clearly much better than me, why don't you let him teach you? TCH, that old geezer doesn't know how to teach, all he knows is how to beat people up. He makes you figure it out yourself, and the worst part is he doesn't know how much force he uses, and it hurts like hell. Ha, the main thing is he just keeps throwing the same punch over and over. Strength is only temporary, but style. That's what lasts a lifetime. Dorag looked disgusted. Ha ha ha, good lad, I didn't realize you were so insightful. All right. Starting tomorrow, I'll give you extra tutoring every night. Harry laughed as he thought, sure enough, anime is just anime. This is a real world, and Dragon beside me is a living, breathing person. Young people should have the youthful exuberance of youth. Then, how about we practice some more? Come. When Harry woke up the next day, she found the room empty. She figured Dragon had probably gone to training. As for Garp, Dragon was a major at headquarters, after all, he had his own little house. It was just that when Garp returned to headquarters, Harry would go to Garp's place for meals and chats after training during the day, but he would still go back to his own place to sleep at night. After washing up, Harry noticed it was almost noon, so he put on his hat and leisurely headed out towards the canteen to get some food. Along the way, he noticed soldiers whispering about him. He looked at himself, but couldn't see anything wrong. He touched his face, but still didn't feel anything unusual. When he turned around to listen carefully to what they were discussing, they quickly left, leaving him completely bewildered. Puzzled, he walked into the cafeteria, got his food, and then heard someone calling his name. Brother Mo, over here. Brother Mo. Looking up, he saw Dragon, who was standing on a stool waving at him. so he raised his hand in response and walked towards him. Drag, I've noticed a lot of people are giving me strange looks today. Do you know why? He plopped down next to Drag, looked around at the people, and asked. Hey, what else could it be? News of you beating up Kuzan has spread, and it's gotten more and more exaggerated, so everyone's curious about what kind of person you are. They even gave you a nickname, something like strongest recruit. Ugh, I thought I'd done something wrong. What a ridiculous nickname, Harry muttered while eating. By the way, how's Kuzan? Nothing serious, he was discharged this morning. He just won't be able to do any high-intensity training for the next few days. Coach Zephyr gave him 2 days off. Moge, what are you planning to do this afternoon? Harry thought for a moment. Let's go check on Kuzan first, since he got beaten up on our first meeting. Then we can wander around town. Aren't you going to come watch our training? What's so interesting about a bunch of grown men working out? If Admiral Zeph catches me, he'll drag me back to training camp. I won't be back for dinner. Tell Uncle Garp I'll find you for extra training when I get back. Enough talk, focus on your food. I must say, the food at the Navy headquarters is really quite good. There are delicacies prepared by chefs from all over the world for the soldiers to choose from, and the taste is quite good. Even Harry from the Celestial Empire had to give it a thumbs up. There are even dishes made by sea kings. After eating and drinking their fill, the two walked out of the cafeteria arm in arm. After Dragon gave them the general location of the Kuzan family's house, he and the other trainees returned to the training grounds. Harry carried a bag of fruit, intending to visit our future naval admiral. A series of knocks sounded on the door. They're here. Kuzan opened the door and saw the BD who had beaten him up yesterday, chewing on a toothpick, holding a piece of fruit to his chest, grinning smugly at him. Good morning, sir. Kuzan looked up at the sun, which had reached its highest point, and his eye twitched involuntarily a few times. He sighed speechlessly. Come in. Chapter 9. Let's get to know each other again, Harry. In the living room, Harry smiled at Kuzan and held out the small gift he had brought as a token of his appreciation. As the old saying goes, one doesn't hit a smiling face. Kuzan accepted the fruit that Harry offered. Thank you, please sit down and let's talk. Kuzan took his seat first and began boiling water for tea, saying with a slightly embarrassed expression. Wow, you're really strong. And thank you for showing mercy at the end, otherwise I probably would have been stuck in the hospital for a few more days. Ha ha ha, we don't have any deep-seated hatred for each other, it's just a friendly spar, of course I won't go too far, besides, according to rank, you're my superior. Harry was looking around the room when she heard Kuzan say that, and she quickly responded. However, looking at Kuzan's hairstyle, she almost couldn't help but burst out laughing. Because Kuzan was resting at home and not wearing a hat, Harry had always thought Kuzan had an afro like hippies, but she didn't expect him to have a short buzz cut on top and long hair on the sides. If you didn't look closely, you might think he was wearing headphones. Don't call me sir. With your skills, I think you're almost on par with Sakazuki and Borsellino. You might even be my equal after you graduate from training camp. Besides, my idol is Garp. Before entering training camp, I was his second in command, so don't be so formal. Just call me by my first name from now on. Ha ha ha, well, we've become friends through a fight. But I don't plan on going to training camp. Like Uncle Garp, I'm not too interested in promotions, so I guess I have little hope of catching up to you in rank. But wouldn't becoming a general or even a marshal allow one to better convey their sense of justice? Kuzan looked at him with a puzzled expression, truly unable to understand why people like Mr. Garp and himself, despite their immense strength, were unwilling to be promoted. Harry looked troubled, unsure how to explain this to him. The people in the One Piece world were practically illiterate. How could he explain the relationship between the world government and its member states, the relationship between the navy and the world government, and the conflicts between ordinary people and their own country's ruling class? He was afraid that before Dragon even transformed into a dragon, he himself would be forming the core leadership of the revolutionary army. As for Garp, don't underestimate him just because he looks goofy in the anime. Through their interactions over this period of time, Harry discovered that he is actually quite wise and insightful. Because once you become an admiral, unless it's a war against the four emperors, you're basically just completing missions related to the celestial dragons. Garp knows all too well what kind of trash these celestial dragons are, so to avoid having his sense of justice tainted, he simply chooses to stay out of sight and become a vice admiral. Anyway, with marshals and generals above him, he can't be found if anything happens. Plus, his old comrades in arms will inevitably take over the reins, so he can do even more as he pleases. Being a marshal or general isn't easy. I'm not talking about ability or military achievements. These things can't be explained to you directly. However, I can give you a suggestion: read more books, any kind of book will do. The most important thing is to learn to think critically from the knowledge gained from books. Seeing Kuzan's furrowed brows, Harry patted him on the shoulder. All right, stop thinking about it. Are you busy later? If not, come with me to town for a stroll. You can be my guide, and I'll buy you a few books as a thank you gift. How about it? Okay, wait a moment, I'll go change my clothes and then we'll leave. Okay, Harry made a gesture and began to enjoy the tea and snacks. The two strolled through the town. Harry looked at the clean and tidy roads and the dazzling array of goods and shops. People seemed relaxed and had smiles on their faces. He couldn't help but feel impressed. No wonder it was an island belonging to the Navy headquarters. The sense of security and happiness of the people was off the charts. And you know what? Most of the men in this world are oddly shaped, but the women are really beautiful, with great figures. Harry was completely mesmerized. What? You're calling me a pervert? Bullshit. I just have a keen eye for beauty, I simply appreciate beautiful things. After shopping for half a day, Harry bought himself a black suit and leather shoes. He couldn't wear beach shorts all day long, so flip-flops would give him a professional look, but they wouldn't be as imposing. Then I bought Garp a dog head hat as a thank you for his care during this time, and also bought some small gifts for Dragon. Of course, I also picked out a few decent history and philosophy books for Kuzan at the bookstore. This social nicety, so skillful. As dusk fell, Kuzan led Harry to a restaurant with a stylish ambience. This restaurant has pretty good food, it's very popular with naval officers. You've gone to so much trouble today, so dinner is on me. Kuzan enthusiastically pulled Harry to a random empty table and they sat down. Hey, isn't this our infamous Navy monster, Kuzan, who was defeated by the recruits? As soon as they sat down, they heard a sarcastic and mocking voice. Turning around, they saw a tall, slender young woman with a long sword at her waist, followed by a middle-aged man walking towards them. Kuzan looked helpless, rubbed his forehead, and began to introduce Harry. This is Lieutenant Commander Jun from the Marine Headquarters, and also Vice Admiral Tsuru's younger sister. As for this weirdo behind her, Lieutenant Commander Cocky-Eye from the Marine Headquarters, well, a womanizer. Kuzan, hearing Cocky-Eye's teasing, didn't hold back in exposing him, pointing at Harry, Captain Harry, Vice Admiral Garp's communications officer. So you're the recruit who defeated Kuzan? Let's have a match sometime, let me see how strong you really are. Upon hearing Kuzan's introduction, Jun's eyes lit up as she stared at him. Harry was taken aback. She hadn't realized that this future naval beauty was such a battle maniac in her youth. She smiled and waved her hand. Just luck, nothing but luck, haha. We'll talk about it another time, another time. Have you eaten yet? If not, why don't you sit down and eat with us? Kyuzan was just being polite, but he didn't expect the two of them to be so unceremonious as they sat down and started ordering. His lips twitched, and he began to worry about whether his wallet was big enough. This restaurant wasn't cheap. However, the words had already been spoken, and since they were all young people, after a hearty meal and drinks, they shared their beliefs about justice, gossiped about their superiors, and teased each other. They had a pleasant conversation, and their friendship began to slowly grow stronger. The dinner ended with Jun once again rejecting Cake's confession. The group strolled home together, promising to meet again next time, before going their separate ways. Chapter 10. Night was falling. Harry returned to Durag's courtyard and opened the door to find him sitting in the living room reading. Upon closer inspection, he had to admit that the boy was truly diligent, studying military knowledge late into the night. "You're back, Brother Mo." Dorag looked up and saw the person approaching, and greeted them. "Sorry, Dragon, I had a few drinks with Kyuzan and the others, so I got back a little late. Here, a little gift I bought for you." "Thank you, brother." Dragon happily accepted the gift with both hands and expressed his gratitude. It's okay. It's too late, so we won't train today. Don't stay up too late either, go and get some rest." "I'm going to sleep now." "Okay, I understand." The next morning, Harry got up early, grabbed the hat she had bought the day before, and knocked on Kapu's door. "Star, have you eaten? Want to eat something together?" As soon as he entered the house, Cap invited him to have breakfast together. Harry didn't stand on ceremony and sat down to eat, handing over the bag as he ate. "No. This is a hat I bought for you yesterday, when we were shopping. Try it on." When Garp heard there was a gift, he beamed and accepted it. He opened the gift box and saw a dog head hat, which he happily put on. "Ha ha ha, I'm very satisfied. If only that brat dragon were as well behaved as you. That kid, he's actually pretty good. Okay, let's eat first. After we finish, I'll take you to meet my old buddies. If you ever make a mistake in the future, you'll need their help." After finishing breakfast, Garp, wearing a dog head hat, went out with Harry and headed towards the headquarters office building. A short while later, they arrived at an office door, and Garp pushed it open and went inside. "Ha ha ha, little crane, what do you think of my hat?" Lieutenant General Tsuru, who was working, put down the documents in his hand, glanced up at Garp, curled his lip, and looked at Harry who was following behind Garp. Garp casually walked to the sofa, plopped down, and Harry followed behind, closing the door behind him. Turning around, he saw Lieutenant General He looking at him, so he straightened his back and saluted. Reporting to Lieutenant General He, "This is Harry, Lieutenant General Kapu's communications officer, a captain." "Oh, so you're the recruit who defeated Kyuzan. Garp mentioned you." Quite a spirited young man, not bad." Lieutenant General He put down the official documents in his hand, got up and sat down on the sofa, starting to set out the tea set. At the same time, he waved to Harry. "Come sit down, don't be so polite. Although you're only a captain now, Garp values you highly, almost like he wants to take you on as a disciple. Besides, you're quite strong yourself, so I can't treat you like an ordinary recruit." Harry, being the kind of person who always tries to climb the social ladder, sat down without ceremony and said with a grin. "Hee, Sister Crane, you're making me blush. Uncle Garp has praised you to me so many times. That BD who can't utter a decent word can't possibly praise me? He's more likely to be insulting me." Lieutenant General Tsuru poured hot tea, his face full of disbelief. "Really, I'm praising your youth, beauty, and resourcefulness. Many times when he and the warring states generals did foolish things, it was you who covered for them." Harry said in a serious tone, his sincere eyes and handsome face making Lieutenant General He burst into laughter. You smooth-talking brat, I'm old now, and you still talk about being young and beautiful? Really? From now on, I'll call you Star, just like Garp does. Although Lieutenant General Tsuru said this, the smile on his face made it clear to everyone that he greatly liked this strong, polite, and articulate young man. Just then, the office door opened again, and two burly men walked in. You little brat! I heard you slandering me the moment I walked in. What is your punishment? It turned out to be the arrival of Generals Sengoku and Zephyr. Harry, utterly embarrassed, stood up and saluted. He hadn't expected to encounter this while praising someone. His toes started digging into the floor. The great general of the Warring States period, General Zifu. Ha 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 ha. Seeing Harry's flushed face and embarrassed appearance, the four high-ranking naval officers burst into laughter, completely devoid of any sense of righteousness. Finally, Vice Admiral He spoke up. All right, Sengoku, stop teasing Hoshino. If you make him laugh so hard he'll leave the navy, Garp will beat you up. Upon hearing this, everyone burst into laughter again. Harry thought to himself, these four middle-aged and elderly people have no martial ethics, they ganged up on me, a pure and innocent young man. I was careless, I didn't dodge. All right, Star, you sit down too. Zephyr smoothed things over, then turned to Garp and started attacking him again. You old rascal, I looked for you all day yesterday and couldn't catch you. Graduation is just around the corner this semester, and you'll have to get Star to come to training camp next semester. Ha ha ha, look at this old guy, he's getting anxious. Zephyr, it's not that I don't want Star to come to your training camp, it's just that his strength has already reached the level of a lieutenant general at headquarters. You yourself know that at this level, his strength can no longer be improved through training. Rather than letting him waste 2 years at the training camp, it would be better for him to stay by my side and train properly for a few years. Garp said with a loud laugh and a smug look on his face. But the training camp doesn't just improve skills, it also fosters camaraderie among classmates and comrades. With these, Harry's future career advancement will be easier. Zifa genuinely cared about Harry and truly admired him as a promising talent, wanting to mentor him properly. He spoke with a face full of anxiety. The other three understood Zifa's unspoken meaning. Indeed, the elite training camp greatly aided in promotions, those who graduated almost always reached the rank of Major General or higher. They say the three greatest bonds in life are, studying together, fighting together, and well, you know. And then imagine your future classmates being Major Generals, Lieutenant Generals, even Generals. Wow, what a network of connections! Furthermore, the Navy is such a large force, with interests involving all sides, so there are factions within it. And at this point in time, these factions are already beginning to emerge, the Doves led by Sengoku, the Hawks led by Sora, and some centrists who don't belong to either side, but there's no leader yet. If you don't have the support of a faction, even if you become an admiral, you have no voice within the Navy, and no one to command. Don't you see, after Sengoku retired, Fujitora and Green Bull were promoted through massive conscription? They were called admirals, but in reality, they were just thugs for the Navy. Fujitora was only equipped with a fleet of ordinary soldiers, probably not even at full strength. He didn't even have any officers of higher rank, and he didn't have a base or anything. In the end, Sakazuki even forbade him from returning to the new naval headquarters and from attending internal naval meetings. That basically meant that everything within the Navy was none of his business. Green Bull, too, directly appointed Celestial Dragon's security guards in Mary Gyoase. Look at that treatment, that power. If Obito and Kakuro had been any more helpful, these two wouldn't have stood a chance. Chapter 11. Thank you for your kind words, Admiral Zeph. Actually, this isn't Uncle Garp's fault. It's just that I'm a lazy person by nature and don't have much desire for promotion. Seeing that the two were about to argue because of him, Harry quickly tried to explain. At this moment, Sengoku spoke up. So what kind of justice do you uphold? Harry stared at the plaque behind his desk that read Pure Justice, thinking to himself, if I were destined to stay in this world forever, I'd probably just call you the People's Justice. But he wasn't. Who knew when Lu Ziyi would wake up and leave? So he didn't know what to say, and could only mutter. It's probably a kind of justice that goes with the flow. Heh, justice based on chance? Does that mean anything's acceptable, and nothing's allowed? Garp, you'd better keep a close eye on this kid, who knows, he might defect to the Navy and become a pirate someday. Lieutenant General He picked up his teacup and jokingly said with a smile. Sister He, please have mercy on me. It's not that bad. I'm a righteous young man, why would I choose to be a thief instead of a soldier? Harry, with a pleading expression, cupped his hands and acted coquettishly towards Lieutenant General He. Lieutenant General He, seeing his comical appearance, beamed with joy. Turning his head, he saw Zifa still frowning and couldn't help but offer some words of comfort. That's enough, Zephyr. Young people have their own ideas, so let's not interfere too much. Yes, that's right. General Zifa, although I don't attend the training camp, I'll come to you for guidance and learning whenever I have free time, Harry quickly added, promising Zifa. Sigh, fine then. Hearing Xiao He's advice and Harry's words, Zifa could only sigh and reluctantly agree. After this matter came to an end, Harry obediently served as a waiter for the 4 big shots, pouring tea and water for them, listening to their analysis of what happened at sea, their discussions on the future plans of the Navy, and watching the battle for Senbei between Sengoku and Garp. It was a scene of peaceful tranquility. Durag, struggling to his feet, spat out the dirt in his mouth and looked at the serene and indifferent Harry. Brother, can't you be a little more considerate of me? This is nothing. I went much easier on you than your old man. If you want to hit someone, you have to learn how to take a hit first, understand? But why do you hit me harder than my dad? I can still walk and jump after a few punches from him, but after a few hits from you, I feel like I can't even stand up. Harry said with a disdainful look. So, I don't know what's wrong with the people in this world. They're all a bunch of brutes and illiterates. Do you even understand human anatomy? Looking at your naive eyes, I know you don't. You just need to remember the spots I hit you in that can cause paralysis and stiffness. Go read more books in the future. Isn't fighting just about who's stronger and punches someone away? What does it have to do with studying? And what is human anatomy anyway? Seeing Dorag's curious expression, Harry covered his forehead, looking helpless. This is too complicated to explain, and you wouldn't remember it even if I explained it too much. I'll look for relevant books when I have some free time, and I'll explain it to you with pictures then, and you'll understand. Let's end today's training here, too much of a good thing can be bad. Remember where I hit you and how you felt after being attacked. Think about it carefully, comprehend it deeply, and make it your own technique. After saying that, he slowly walked towards the exit of the training field, and Durag followed with a limp. After a month of calm, the Navy decided to let the great pirates fight amongst themselves in the New World, leave the first half of the Grand Line to Sakazuki, Borsalino, and other new generation of Navy powerhouses for training, and there were no particularly strong figures in the 4 seas, so Garp was left idle at headquarters. For the past month, Harry spent his mornings cultivating his favorability with the big boss, his evenings beating up Durag, and his afternoons, when he had nothing to do, he would randomly pick a lucky audience member from the training camp and beat them up under the guise of training. Of course, at these times, General Zephyr was his accomplice, and even Jun and Koki were not spared. It wasn't until the 10-man squad led by Kuzan and Dragon joined forces to suppress him that his arrogant arrogance was curbed. Because of his playful nature, these antics didn't make him disliked, instead, they fostered friendships. Harry also gained a lot from the practical experience during this period. Although he was still in the early stage of chi refining, he understood that the ethereal immortal technique given to him by Lu Ziyi was not just a cultivation manual. It also included many other things, such as Daoist scriptures, spells, body refining techniques, talismans, and so on. To be precise, it's more like a detailed guide to cultivation. Of course, this knowledge doesn't mean simply pouring experience into his head and making him invincible. Rather, it's like storing a library in his mind, where he can look up whatever he needs. But he still has to learn everything himself. Today, Harry had just smuggled a bag of senbei, rice crackers, from Sengoku's office. He was thinking about how, due to the incompatibility of the world, he had tried many spells but couldn't cast them. Yesterday, he finally made progress and learned a compatible spell. Head down, humming a little tune contentedly, he was preparing to go to General He's office to use the senbei to get some more good tea when he bumped into someone. Sorry. Harry was secretly pleased with himself, planning to show off when he beat up Doreg later that night. So, without even looking up, he apologized and continued walking. Stop right there. Hearing the sound, Harry stopped and turned around. Looking up, she saw a tall man in a red suit, wearing a coat of justice and smoking a cigar standing in front of her. Not far away was another man with a lewd expression. It turned out to be Sakazuki and Borsellino. Soldier. Didn't your officer teach you to salute when you see an officer? And what is that uniform you're wearing? Harry disapproved of some of the actions of hawkish generals like Akainu. Pirates indiscriminately killing innocent people was a manifestation of their human depravity, but as a soldier, he should have stood on the side of good and protected civilians. So you use the banner of justice to attack civilians with a clear conscience? That's just disgusting. For example, during the Buster Call incident on O'Hara, in the original manga, the world government sent rescue ships to evacuate the civilians from the island, yet Akainu still ordered the rescue ships to be bombarded. What kind of behavior is that? Is it any of your business? So Harry tilted his head and said with a disdainful expression. After all, Harry, who grew up under the red flag and in the spring breeze, deeply remembers those respectable and lovable soldiers of the People's Liberation Army. They are willing to sacrifice themselves for the safe evacuation of civilians. They are fearless and ruthless against the enemy, truly devils. In peacetime, during every natural disaster, they risk their lives to fight on the front lines. That's what a soldier is. Chapter 12. Arrogant. Seeing Harry's expression, Sakazuki instantly flew into a rage and threw a punch. Harry didn't let him get away with it. With a swift and skillful move of her left hand, she deflected Sakazuki's attack, altering the direction of his fist. Then, she leaned close to Sakazuki's chest. Tai Chi, advancing parry and strike. Sakazuki flew down the corridor for most of the way before crashing into the wall with a loud thud. Those who heard the commotion opened their offices to see what was going on. How dare someone cause trouble in the naval headquarters building? This was quite a sight. Looking at Harry, still striking a pose in the middle of the corridor, and following his gesture backward, their eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. Holy crap! Is that Lieutenant General Sakazuki? If you hadn't said that too, I would have thought I was still half asleep. Holy crap! If I'm not mistaken, didn't little tyrant beat up Sakazuki? A bewildered Sakazuki shook his head. He had only intended to teach this arrogant soldier a lesson and hadn't even used his devil fruit power. He hadn't expected to be outmaneuvered. Listening to the whispers of the onlookers in the corridor, his blood pressure skyrocketed, and his lower body transformed into magma, hurtling towards Harry. You're asking for it. At this moment, several big shots arrived at the crime scene. Steelbone, his face contorted with rage, roared. Stop right there! Sakazuki, are you planning to tear down the headquarters building? If you want to fight, take it to the training grounds. Upon hearing this, Harry jumped to the window in the corridor, squatted on the windowsill, and turned back to give Sakazuki a cold smile. "I'll be waiting for you at the training ground. Anyone who doesn't come is a scoundrel." After saying that, he leaped into the air and used moonwalk to head towards the training ground. Although Sakazuki didn't quite understand the meaning of the last sentence, he could easily tell from Harry's expression and tone that it wasn't anything nice. With a cold and sour face, he chased after Harry's figure. "Marshal Kong, are we just going to let them run wild like this?" Sengoku, seeing the two clearly enraged, asked with a worried expression. "Ha ha ha, it's no big deal. They're young, and all geniuses at that. It's normal for them to be competitive. Besides, you, Garp, and Zeph fought a lot when you were young." Kong looked at Sengoku with a mocking expression. Garp, who was eating senbei, burst into laughter upon hearing this teasing remark. "Ha ha ha, I used to win all the time. Wow! Vice Admiral Garp is practically a monster." Borsellino stroked his chin, a lewd look on his face. "That's enough for you guys, Garp. The Air Marshal wasn't praising you. Let's all go over there, we still need to keep an eye on things." Seeing Borsellino's sarcastic tone and Garp's smug laughter gradually turning into a dark expression on Sengoku's face, Lieutenant General Tsuru feared that the two old guys would also stage a live-action fight show. He slapped his forehead, speechlessly trying to smooth things over, and turned to walk downstairs first with his hands behind his back. Why did they take the stairs? Of course, big shots have to maintain a certain level of composure. They couldn't just jump out of the window like Harry and his group, that would be too undignified. Hearing that the big shots were also going to watch the match, the remaining young men couldn't stay calm. They all put down what they were doing and ran towards the training ground, calling their friends. People have a herd mentality, so more and more people gathered, forming a huge crowd heading towards the training ground. After all, such a duel between strong opponents was a rare sight for these people. Harry found a relatively large training ground with few people around in the air, turned his head slightly towards Sakazuki, and landed. Sakazuki followed closely behind, stopped, and spoke. "If you don't want to die, you'd better apologize and beg for mercy. Hey? Give it a try." Sakazuki, seeing this guy's arrogant expression, said nothing more and immediately activated his AoE skill. Meteor Volcano. Harry watched the fist, dripping with lava, descend from the sky, made a hand seal, and muttered incantations. "The year of Dingzhou extended my life, but the year of Dingai imprisoned my soul. The Dinzhou year restrained my spirit, while the Dingwei year averted my calamity. The year Ding Si marked my peril, the year Ding Mao marked my calamity. The year of Jiazi protected my body, and the year of Jiaxua preserved my form. The year Jiashen, 1644, solidified my fate, the year Jiawu, 1654, guarded. Jiachen, pacified my spirit, Jiayin, nurtured my truth. Gods and demons, may your will be as commanded." As the fist from the sky slammed into the ground, it produced a series of booming explosions, like cannonballs raining down on the earth, and instantly the area was filled with smoke. Those with sharp eyes had already moved over when the fist shadow appeared in the sky, while those with slower reactions looked over after hearing the noise. Zephyr had even brought the training camp students to watch the fight from the sidelines. After the main force from the office building arrived and the dust settled, the scene inside was revealed. The soldiers stared wide-eyed as they saw Harry standing unharmed in the center of the pitted and lava-filled area, enveloped in a thin layer of golden light. "Tisk, that's it." As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly launched himself forward, charging straight towards Sakazuki. Big fire! Sakazuki unleashed a massive lava fist at the figure charging towards him. Harry looked at the fist coming towards him, neither dodging nor avoiding it. Just before being hit, he wrapped his arms around the ball of magma, as if entangling, pulling, and kneading it. After somersaulting and twisting in the air, he turned and punched back at Sakazuki. What? A massive fire eruption. Sakazuki was so shocked that his pupils contracted. He had never seen such a move before. He quickly threw another punch to block the attack returning to him. Bang! The two fists collided in mid-air, spewing lava and obscuring Sakazuki's vision. Suddenly, a figure burst forth from the lava, spinning and delivering an elbow strike to Sakazuki's carotid artery. Then, 18 subduing dragon palms. Flying dragon in the sky. Dragon's tail swing. 2 dragons emerge from the sea. That's all for now. After finishing his combo, Harry jumped to the side and focused his energy in his danshin. Ah! The Hound of the Underworld. Sakazuki, who had been standing still, suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood, then roared furiously and attacked Harry again. The two fought back and forth. After a frantic exchange of attacks for over half an hour, Harry felt a pang of bitterness seeing Sakazuki acting like a mad dog, and he couldn't help but complain. Damn it, is this guy a dog? If this had happened to Darag, my first elbow strike would have knocked me unconscious, not to mention the subsequent combos and joint attacks. I just spat out a few mouthfuls of blood and fought him for so long like nothing happened. I'm so disgusted. Chapter 13. Harry, relying on his superior agility, relentlessly attacked Sakazuki, making for a truly spectacular display. However, Sakazuki, with his monstrous physique and devil fruit ability, remained tenacious, launching counterattacks from time to time and transforming into a field destroyer. The frustration of being able to only passively take hits without being able to strike back made Sakazuki incredibly irritable. He roared repeatedly in the arena, sometimes interspersed with provocative words urging Harry to fight him head-on, only to be met with Harry's cold sarcasm in return. He appeared incredibly pitiful, making people feel sorry for him. After a stalemate of over an hour, the big shots felt it was about time. The two were unlikely to gain the upper hand anytime soon. So, Marshal Steelbone intervened to stop them. Stop it! You've been fighting for so long, it's time to calm down. Harry also found it boring. What was the point of fighting if they couldn't even kill anyone after all that? So he took a step back and withdrew from the battlefield. Sakazuki, however, still relentlessly charged forward. Haunted dog! Heaven shaking. Perhaps Harry was truly exhausted. This time, instead of dodging, he threw a powerful punch. The two fists collided in mid-air, neither willing to back down. Ha, silly dog, it seems you're not so good at a head-on confrontation. Sengoku saw Kong's face slowly darken, and a shockwave from his Buddha form shattered the two who were now locked in a stalemate. You two bastards, haven't you had enough? With Sengoku's intervention, Sakazuki calmed down and realized that a head-on confrontation wouldn't have given him any advantage. If they fought again, he would just be getting beaten up one-sidedly. So he stopped moving, just stood there with a sour face. You two come to my office. I'll tell the logistics department to repair the area, and put the cost on these two bastards' heads. Kong, seeing the two stop fighting, finished speaking with a dark face, then turned and left. The other big shots quickly followed, and Sakazuki snorted and went after them as well. Harry first smiled at the acquaintances around him as a greeting, before leisurely trailing behind as he walked towards the office building. Wow! Young people these days are terrifying. Harry didn't need to guess who was speaking, he rolled his eyes at Borsellino's lewd expression. Lieutenant General Borsellino, has anyone ever told you that your expression, while seemingly terrifying, is incredibly sarcastic? Nobody said that. I was genuinely complimenting you just now. Haha, then I'll humbly accept it. But your expression makes me feel like you're mocking me, and I can't help but want to punch you. Kawi. The two chatted casually as they walked away, leaving a group of onlookers buzzing with discussion. Harry gained countless new followers. Meanwhile, Zifa, his face flushed, was also instructing his students. See that? That's the power of physical combat. Devil fruits aren't omnipotent, and Logia-type devil fruits aren't invincible. When your devil fruit power is ineffective, it all comes down to physical combat. Otherwise, you'll just be on the defensive. Especially you, Kuzan. Even if you possess a top-tier Logia-type devil fruit, you must remember, while developing your devil fruit power, never forget to train your physical skills. Inside the marshal's office, Steel Bone Kong sat in the main seat, acting as the head of discipline. Harry and Sakazuki stood ramrod straight in front of the desk, like two unlucky students caught smoking in the bathroom. The other big shots sat on the sofa, leisurely watching the two make a fool of themselves while drinking hot tea and eating snacks. You two are making a scene over such a trivial matter. If this continues, are you planning to tear down the naval headquarters to make headlines? Are you going to make a fool of our navy in front of the world government and other member states? Steelbone Kong, looking exasperated, berated the two of them for over 10 minutes. He took a sip of tea to clear his throat, then changed his expression and said gently. Sakazuki, after I step down, Sengoku will take my place. You who were once my students should understand Zephyr's intentions. The burden of being an admiral will then fall on you, Borsellino, and Kuzan's generation. Being an admiral isn't just an honor, it's a responsibility to one's own justice and the future of the navy. How can this be done without a magnanimous heart? Then, looking at Harry beside him, he slowly said. And you, kid, always loafing around like that. I know you don't like wearing the navy uniform. You're a genius, so it's normal to have your own attitude and arrogance. The navy can tolerate the mavericks of geniuses. With your abilities, being a captain is really a waste of your talent. So I've decided to promote you. Once you're a field officer, you can wear whatever you want without anyone saying anything. Let's schedule the promotion for the ceremony after training camp ends next month. Finally, once the logistics department submits the expense list for the maintenance site, you two will each pay half, deducted from your salaries and bonuses. Upon hearing this, Harry's face immediately fell, and he couldn't help but start bargaining with Steelbone. Marshal Kong, could you possibly reduce the repair fee? I barely make ends meet with my meager salary. If you cut it again, how am I supposed to survive? Do you know why you're being promoted along with everyone in the training camp next month? It's because you're going to Sabayati Archipelago to catch pirates this month. As for how much bonus you get and how high a rank you rise, that depends on your abilities. With an air of nonchalance, Steelbone Kong picked up his teacup, blew on the tea leaves floating on the surface, and leisurely took a sip. This brings us to the composition of the Navy's salary, which is basically made up of three main parts. First, each rank has a fixed salary, and naturally, the higher the rank, the higher the salary. Secondly, there was the task of capturing pirates. Based on the bounty offered on the pirates, headquarters received 90%, and the remaining 10% was divided among the officers and soldiers involved in the capture, decreasing from top to bottom. The officers in charge received more, while those below them received less. Don't think that 90% is a high percentage for headquarters. Bounties are just one way to combat pirates. Putting aside pirate hunters, this is the Navy's primary job. Therefore, the world government generally doesn't give the Navy the full amount. Secondly, intelligence departments, logistics departments, medical expenses for wounded soldiers after war, compensation, etc., are all considerable expenses. Think about it in real life. If you negotiate $1 million project, will the company give you a $100,000 bonus? Third, if you become the highest ranking officer in the branch, the gray income from the industries, towns, and other aspects under the branch's management will be a large sum of money. You will take the lion's share, and you will also have to share the profits with the soldiers below you, otherwise who will work and risk their lives for you. Seeing that the melon had been eaten, everyone took their leave. Harry went home with Garp to discuss borrowing warships and soldiers. Chapter 14. The purpose of this mission to capture pirates in the Sabayati archipelago is, frankly, to send Harry to accumulate military merits so that others can avoid gossip when he is promoted. It's also a chance to see if he has the ability to stand alone. Therefore, Garp will not be accompanying him. Since the mission is to capture pirates, it's impossible to do without warships and soldiers. Given Harry's current rank, it's clear that he cannot have his own private warship. While discussing borrowing ships and troops, Garp also told him about the specific distribution of spoils after capturing pirates on his warships. Because the specific allocation of resources varies from ship to ship, it is basically determined by the ship's highest commander. Officers who are greedy for money will take more, while officers who care about their soldiers will take less. At the same time, he was reminded to visit Vice Admiral Tsuru before setting off to gather more intelligence, such as which pirates in the Sabayati archipelago were worth noting, and which pirates might reach the archipelago in the next month based on route analysis. This experience could make his mission smoother. Dragon returned home just in time for dinner and overheard Harry and his father discussing going to the Sabayati archipelago to capture pirates. He then volunteered. "Brother Mo. Take me with you. These past 2 years of training camp life have been driving me crazy. If I'm unlucky, I might not be back until before your medal awarding ceremony at Sabayati archipelago. Besides, aren't you all about to graduate? What are you going to do with your graduation assessments if Admiral Zephyr isn't taking you out? Where would you find the time to hang out with me?" Harry asked, looking puzzled. "Graduation assessment? Hey, Brother Mo, what you're talking about is the recruit camp. The lowest rank in our elite class is a major. We're here for advanced training, mainly to learn hacky techniques from Teacher Zephyr. To put it bluntly, basically all the mid to high-ranking officers in the Navy for the next few decades are in this class. So for the next period of time, we were basically left to our own devices. Teacher Zephyr said he'd taught us everything he needed to, and the rest was up to us. If it weren't for the fact that we only had a month left before the medal ceremony, I would have already gone out to sea to catch pirates. Alright then, I'll call you when I'm ready to leave, once I'm all set." Hearing Durag say this, Harry agreed, thinking it would be good to have company on the journey. After the guards brought their food and they ate dinner together, the two strolled to the training ground to prepare for Durag's extra training that day. Along the way, Durag transformed into a curious child. "Brother Mo, what was that move you used today where you glowed all over and blocked Vice Admiral Sakazuki's meteor volcano? It was super cool, can I learn it? The 6 Sting and 6 Geoprotective Incantation? Forget about it. It's something left behind by our ancestors, you can't learn it. Oh, I saw you attacking Lieutenant General Sakazuki's joints so relentlessly, how come he's completely unharmed? If it were me, I probably wouldn't even be able to crawl. He's been beaten for so long, he's bound to be injured. It's just that he's much stronger than you, and the anger he felt during the fight temporarily suppressed the pain. Once he calms down, he's probably rolling around in bed screaming in pain. Ha ha ha, Brother Mo, if I encounter an opponent with such a strong physique and high resilience in the future, how should I win? First, you need to train your movement skills so that you can avoid getting beaten up as much as possible, and even if you can't win, you can at least run away. Take Borsellino for example. Why is he also called a monster? He has strength, but the most important thing is his devil fruit ability. You can't keep up with his speed. He can fight whenever he wants, and you can't stop him when he doesn't want to fight. It's a very troublesome ability. Secondly, you need to strengthen your physique, which is currently my weakness. In today's situation, without anyone intervening, it's simply a matter of who runs out of energy first, and that person will lose. Of course, a stronger physique naturally increases one's resilience to blows. For example, think about how long you could last when you first started sparring with me, and how long you can last now. Third, you need to cultivate your armament haki, so that it's not just something that adheres to your body surface to form a protective layer or is used to capture Logia-type devil fruit users. To make it detach from the body, your attacks must penetrate the enemy's armament haki and skin protection layers, directly striking their bones and even organs. Even the strongest monster cannot withstand such attacks. This is an advanced technique of armament haki. Currently, I only know the direction, but I can't use it yet. I understand. By the way, Brother Mo, I've noticed you don't train much, but you seem to be getting stronger. Is there some secret? The secret to my success is simply that my cultivation method differs from most people's. I meditate and sit in meditation every day. It's a way of cultivating my essence, energy, and spirit. That. Harry patiently answered Doraeg's questions, but during the sparring session, she put in more effort than usual today. It definitely wasn't because Doraeg was annoyed by her questions. Definitely. Over the next 2 days, Harry was busy with various preparations. When recruiting soldiers, he didn't expect that what he thought would require him to beg would turn out to be something he had just mentioned to Lieutenant William in the control room, who then enthusiastically took on the task. Seeing his enthusiastic demeanor, Harry felt that if the lieutenant hadn't mentioned that only a few people were needed this time, he could have easily gathered everyone on the ship. This also gave him a small moment of narcissism regarding his current prestige. When he went to Lieutenant General Tsuru to get intelligence, she had already prepared a thick stack of documents. As soon as he entered, she threw them at him, saying that if he wanted tea, he should make it himself, and if he had nothing else to do, he should get lost and not disturb her work. As Harry left, she reminded him that she had already spoken to the head of the Sabayati Archipelago branch by phone, and that the branch's situation was also in the files. Harry could only sigh, tisk this charming older sister. When the lieutenant in the control room came to tell him that the soldiers had been recruited and were ready to depart at any time, Harry instructed the lieutenant to pass on the message that they should assemble at the dock at 8 o'clock sharp the next morning to set sail. He also handed over the information about pirates to the lieutenant so he could familiarize himself with the intelligence. He then prepared to go back and check on the situation of the Sabayati Archipelago branch before informing Dragon. The next morning, the ship, with its bow resembling a dog's head, slowly sailed out of the harbor and headed towards the Sabayati Archipelago. Everything seemed uneventful. After all, it wasn't a major operation. The voyage was short, and there were only about 20 soldiers in total, 1 combat squad and 1 mechanic squad. They didn't even bring a cook squad. They would definitely be stationed at the branch headquarters. The reason for bringing the combat squad was that it would be easier to keep an eye on the pirates once they were captured. Chapter 15. Lying on the beach chair, Harry looked at Doraeg, who was also dressed casually but wearing only a military cap, and asked curiously. Drag, I remember you were a lieutenant colonel, why aren't you wearing your coat of justice? I guess I'm on vacation right now. Besides, you're the star of the show this time, Brother Mo, why would I steal your thunder? Leaning against the ship's railing, enjoying the sea breeze and sipping juice, Dragon spoke without turning his head. By the way, do you know Major General Wilt, the branch commander of the Sabayati Archipelago? We weren't very close. I had a brief encounter with him once or twice when we were on missions in the Sabayati Archipelago. He seemed like a very easy person to talk to. I think I heard he used to be a soldier under Lieutenant General Borsellino, but I don't remember much else. At this moment, Lieutenant William, who was standing to the side, took the initiative to report to Harry. Captain Mo, Major General Wilt was originally Lieutenant General Borsellino's adjutant. Initially, Lieutenant General Borsellino was the branch commander of the Sabayati Archipelago, at which time he was still a Major General. After being promoted to Lieutenant General, he was transferred due to new assignments. However, due to the unique geographical location of the Sabayati Archipelago, the complex situation on the islands, and its proximity to headquarters, no more capable lieutenant generals were dispatched to garrison it. Major General Wilt was thus appointed to the position. William, I didn't realize you knew so much. William scratched his head sheepishly. Captain Mo, please don't flatter me. We're just small fry, we don't have any real power,